Hello, Spookaroos. Welcome to another remix episode. It is your host, Eric Dwinells here, welcoming you to Spooky Ass Shit. Now, I had to think about this one. This is a remix of episode number 3, The Ghost of John Stone's Inn, which is, of course, my hometown haunt. John Stone's, now Stone's Public House, is right in Ashland, Massachusetts, right where I grew up. It was probably the first real-life ghost story I ever heard, the one I grew up with, the one that started it all, you might say. And I say I hesitate to repost this one because I already have, kind of recently. But, it's an important piece of the show's history, and if we're going to play the shows in order, and like I said, we are going to play most of them right in order in these remix episodes, then we got to leave it in there. And there are some updates. I think I told you about most of them last time we talked about Stones, but the most important update of all is that you'll hear Jennie Blades and I talking about the little girl's dress that was supposed to have been found upstairs in the building. And that dress was mysteriously missing for a number of years. And anytime you asked about it, they just kept telling you it was out for framing, out for framing. Well, it is now prominently on display. When you go in, there's the hostess stand. And to the left of the hostess will be the stairs up to the second floor, where they have larger dining rooms. You are allowed to go up there most nights, and if you do, you will go up to the top of the stairs, and right at the top of the stairs, last time I was in there anyway, the dress is displayed. In fairness, it's not actually a dress, although it does appear to be some kind of apron that a little girl would wear, and there is kind of an orangey brown stain on it, which may or may not be blood. So it's up to you. Go ahead and visit. You're going to be in for a good meal anyway. The food is good. I can say I've been there before this whole quarantine and everything. Not too long ago. And of course, I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I might have last time we talked about Stones, but I have now been into the super top secret third floor. And did we even go up one more? We might have gone up one more. Dave Francis, who is the paranormal investigator who kind of has an inn with Stones that is in this area. I met up with him. He was kind enough to take me to Stones and introduce me to management there, and we had permission to go poke around upstairs on our own. I took some pictures. I'll post those on the Instagram again, and you can check those out there. I did not have any ghostly encounters, but it is creepy up there. It's, old abandoned hotel, basically, like really old abandoned hotel, and does not look nearly as nice as the rest of the building. I think it would just be too costly to repair at this point because they'd have to put in all new floors. There were certain areas we couldn't walk because, they weren't too sure about the stability of the floor and all. So anyway, that's the update on John Stone's Public House, as it's known these days. But let's update each other. Let's do a little check-in. These are very trying times. Each and every week I tell you guys not to be afraid. And it seems like with this coronavirus, at first they were telling us don't be afraid. They're just like, just wash your hands, follow universal precautions and everything should work out right. And then like half a week later, they're like, don't go outside. Don't go to work. Don't do anything. Shut down all the stores. So it's a crazy, crazy time. Haven't seen anything like this, certainly in my lifetime, and I don't remember hearing about anything like this. Maybe back in, World War II or something, there were times that were kind of similar to this. But this is some weird, wild stuff. But what I tell everybody is, don't look at this as something that is, a punishment or something to be afraid of. Look at this as an opportunity to try new things, get into new hobbies. A lot of us are working from home. Hopefully you're working from home and you haven't been laid off, which is a big fear for a lot of people. I totally understand that, but just keep in mind, this is bad news for us now, but it won't last forever. This will be over someday. So we just got to be strong. We got to get through it together. We got to take care of each other. I'm still here making podcasts for you. I did have to cancel some guests, but don't worry. I got some other things lined up. I'm going to be doing some more Skype interviews. There will be a brand new episode next week, and we're going to have a lot of fun with some of the things that we're going through now, talking about next week. All right, so with all that out of the way, let me just remind you, check out the show's website, spookyas.com or spookyasshit.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. You can listen to each and every episode, including the ones no longer available on your favorite streaming service. And you can also find our social media links. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on Instagram, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. Don't forget to join our secret closed group, the Spookaroos, if you are, in fact, a true blue Spookaroo. I want to remind you there is merchandise available on the website, and you can also, of course, leave kindly worded reviews, especially in a time like this. Don't tell me you don't have time now. It's been so long since I got a nice 5-star written review with kind words on iTunes or anywhere else, to be honest with you. So please, I would really appreciate it if you're thinking about what you could do to help me during this time, which I'm sure you are. Why wouldn't you be? Then that's what you can do. And hopefully me putting out these shows will help you. All right, we're going to go all the way back. This episode was recorded in January of 2016 with my friend to the end, my hobgoblin, Jennie Blades. So let's go back to those days. Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. That's not really how I talk. This is really how I talk.
Sounds good, though.
Yeah. Tonight, you guys are in for a special treat because the subject matter is near and dear to my heart. The setting is near and dear to my heart. And my co-host is near and dear to my heart.
Aw, thanks.
Because we've known each other for a very long time. Because we grew up in the same town. And tonight's story is set in our hometown. So this is a local legend. But it's kind of a big deal. It's been on TV and it's been in books. Tonight we are going to talk about a place that we like to refer to as Johnstone's Inn, but I'm sure the current owners would like us to use its current name, which is Stone's Public House. Mm-hmm. So my guest co-host tonight is my friend who I call Jennie Blades, but she has since gotten married and her new last name is
Lecesse.
Lecesse. But to me, she's always Jennie Blades. She's my hobgoblin.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
right.
private joke, but it was funny to her, so it worked. Jennie is on the board of the Ashland Historical Society. Ashland, Massachusetts.
That's right.
Is our hometown.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about our local legend that everybody from Ashland knows. Clockers.
Should have been a clocker.
Yeah, is what all the Ashland kids are called. Because the first electric clock was invented. Well, why am I? You're the historian. You tell everybody.
The first electric clock was invented in Ashland by Henry E. Warren.
That's right. And where's that clock now?
The first one?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, actually.
I'll tell
Probably
you where
the
it is.
Smithsonian.
It's in the Smithsonian.
Oh, there
yeah.
you see. I was right.
Good.
Yes.
But I almost beat you. The professional. So you were telling me that you actually give tours of Ashland now.
I do.
Which is interesting because it's really a small town. It's gotten a little bigger. I mean, not physically bigger, but it's got the same strip malls and everything that you see in other towns and McDonald's and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But when I was a kid, it was really kind of like a farm town.
Yeah. We mostly stick to the downtown area.
Yeah.
And a lot of those buildings are much older.
Right.
Which is nice to talk about.
Yeah. It was a nice little town. It's about, it's a little less than 20 miles away from Boston if you just go straight west.
Mm-hmm. Takes about 2 seconds to drive through the town.
Yeah. I read something online said Ashland's greatest trick was convincing everyone that it didn't exist. Because you literally most people, you just drive through. If there's no reason to be
right
there,
through.
then
yeah,
you don't. But it was a nice, safe little town. I had a good time there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I met people like Jennie Blades.
See, there you go.
Who I always call Jennie Blades. Full name.
I think everyone in Ashland does.
All right. Good. So let's talk about Stone's Public House, Johnstone's Inn.
Mm-hmm.
It is supposed to be haunted.
That's correct.
It's currently a bar.
And restaurant.
So people can go see it. They do have a website. It's stonespublichouse.com.
That's right.
And I'm sure they'd appreciate it if you check them out.
And their corned beef cabbage rolls are fantastic.
Yeah. I've always had good times there.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's good food.
Yeah. We've both had several experiences. Jennie Blades actually worked there.
I did. Yep, in high school.
All right. And I have had several dinners and drinks there.
Hey, you're in.
And I went to a birthday party there. We'll get into that. But so let's get into the history of it. No more stalling.
Okay.
What can you tell us about the earliest days of Johnstone's Inn?
Johnstone's Inn was built by Captain John Stone in 1834, and at the time it was called the Railroad House, and it was situated in what was called Unionville at the time.
That's right. Ashland used to be called Unionville.
That's right. And he built it because the railroad was coming to Ashland. So he needed an inn next to the railroad tracks so he could make money off the people that came in from Boston on the train.
And when we say next to the railroad tracks, it is literally like what?
Oh, it's legit.
Like
Parking
5
lot's
feet?
like right next to it, yeah.
From the train tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go like cross the road tracks to get to it, yeah.
Yeah, it is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, see, like this is something we'll edit because that's a big pause.
Gotcha.
And now I'm talking about editing
Okay.
it. So, even if we do...
When was the first time you heard about Johnstone's?
All right. Okay. So the first time I ever heard about Johnstone's Inn, this part should probably go before even the history part. That's all right. The first time I ever heard about Johnstone's Inn was after this big truck passed. I'm not sure if that will come through. Probably not, but just to be safe.
Just in case.
Okay. The very first time I ever heard about Johnstone's Inn was from my older brother, which is never a good way to hear a ghost story for the first time. Depending on which order we air these episodes in, people might have heard about my brother before. And I want to preface it by saying my brother Dan is one of the nicest guys you can meet. I love him very much. However, growing up, and I'm sure this is normal older brother stuff, but he sort of mentally tortured me.
It's in the job description, I think,
Yeah.
for older siblings. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, he was 6 years older than me. Okay, so that's like a good, like, if you're 5 and your brother is 11, he's gonna fuck with you.
Yep.
And he took full advantage of that. And I was a super sensitive kid who had lost, my father died when I was young. Mm-hmm. And I was just, we'll get into this in another episode, but I had like these like dark fantasies about death and shit.
Oh, geez.
So
okay.
like,
that'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, trust me, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I was just very much afraid of things. Like I was just afraid that people were going to die, and like things were out there that were going to kill people and take family away and all this stuff. Like that was all in my psyche.
Normal.
And then my brother didn't help anything. Again, I don't think he was doing anything other than what other big brothers have done throughout history. But it hit me especially hard because I was this sensitive, scared kid all the time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he realized what it did to me at the time. And he's probably upset that I'm talking about this if he is listening.
Yeah, he is.
But as I said, we have a great relationship now. He's like one of my, he's my like best friend probably. And he's a good dude, good guy. Not a bad bone in his body these days.
However.
But here's an example. Okay, so keep in mind, I had a fragile psyche as a child. One night, we're over my mom's friend's house. And she had a son my brother's age. His name was Jason. And I was tagging along because, my mom and Jason's mom would sit in the kitchen and drink tea and, yenta it up. And then us kids would be playing somewhere. Mm-hmm. Both of them about 6 years older than me. So I don't know how it started to come up. But they started talking about Johnstone's Inn, the haunted restaurant. Called Johnstone's Inn. It was not actually an inn at the time, just a restaurant and bar. And they were saying, yeah, you know what happened there? A long time ago, John Stone was playing poker in the basement.
Oh.
And there was an out-of-towner from New York. And he was cheating at cards. And John Stone called him on it. And the man became very upset. And a big fight ensued. And in the skirmish, John Stone hit him over the head. And the man died.
Ah.
But because he was an out-of-towner, and nobody knew that he was staying there, John Stone said to his poker buddies, who were all Ashland residents. He said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bury this bitch right here in the basement. And nobody's going to tell a soul about this forever.
Forever.
And they buried the body in the basement. But now, says my brother, those spirits have been trapped in there because they all vowed to share this secret
They made
forever.
The pact.
Right. And also, the guy who was murdered is pretty angry, and he's in there. So my brother was telling me that, the spirits are very violent, and that if you go down the stairs, they will grab you, and they will get you. And I said, well, I've never been to John Stone's before, and after this story, I'm certainly not going to go now, so I'm not worried about this, because they're not going to get anywhere near me.
Mm-hmm.
And I distinctly remember my brother saying, yeah, but they could follow us home sometime. So every time we passed by that red building downtown, which, by the way, had a spooky sign at the time with the picture of John Stone.
Of him on it.
You can Google search John Stone. Probably type in John Stone's Inn or Stone's Public House, because there's probably other John Stones. But if you Google search, you'll find a picture of the actual Captain John Stone. And you know what he kind of looks like, I think?
Who?
The guy from Sons of Anarchy and Hellboy, Ron Perlman.
Oh, right.
But him crossed with Andrew Jackson from the $20 bill for the hair.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. It's kind of like a monkey-ish face.
It's also a terrifying picture.
Ape is. Yeah, he
it's
doesn't
blurry,
look. Yeah, it's a little blurry. It's very old. He doesn't look super friendly.
He's not happy. No.
And when we were kids, the sign outside had a wood carving of him on it.
Yeah.
And it was a scary one.
The exact same face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very well done, but it was kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear these things, and the sign said "Food and Spirits," right?
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And then they revamped it in the 90s, and I remember it looked like it didn't look as good. Like the new face on the sign, it looked like a cake pan or something version.
We should make one.
Yeah, and now there's another new sign, which I don't like as much as the original sign that I remember, but it's way better than the cake pan one. Yeah, and it's Stone's Public House now.
That's right.
But
yeah, it's had a lot of names.
Yeah. All right. So that was the first time I heard about it. And aside from the thing about the spirits following you home, my brother actually told a fairly faithful rendition of what the legend is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's worth pointing out that originally there was no signs of hauntings. I don't know the whole history. It was originally an inn, as you said.
Yep.
That people would spend the night.
Yep.
And it
was for the railroad.
Yeah.
For people to come and stay in Ashland.
Yeah. And you said that John Stone actually wasn't the innkeeper or anything.
No, he kind of just owned the building. He was never the actual innkeeper for it.
Okay. So chances are he wasn't even there very often.
Probably not, no.
No. Okay. And I don't know when it stopped functioning as an inn. Is there any...
Well, in about the 1850s, the innkeeper at the time kind of went a little crazy. So I don't know if any time after that.
A little crazy?
Yeah, he went a little bonkers. He had some deaths in his family, and he got a little depressed, and just kind of went a little crazy. He's the one that tried to commit suicide 3 times and didn't succeed in it. He shot himself in the head and missed. Shot himself in the chest and was revived. And yeah.
All right. Well, that's some spooky ass shit in itself.
Yeah. He lived for 10 long years after that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there. So that wasn't too long
probably
after
the turn of the century, I would say.
Yeah, it kind of fell into disrepair from there.
Yeah.
And then I read in one of the books that it was like a honky tonk in the 60s and early 70s.
It kind of turned into a biker bar at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that when we took Dare, and well, you might not remember this because anyway,
there then.
We took Dare, and Officer Mignani told us this whole story about biker gangs in Ashland.
Oh.
So apparently, it was like a biker hub for a while.
Oh, it totally was. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently, John Stone's was a place where they used to hang.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so going back to the Sons of Anarchy, Ron Perlman, it all connects.
It's in the blood. Yeah.
Spirits.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah, so it kind of fell into disrepair at that time, and it just wasn't like a nice looking place.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I believe, what is it, 72?
Think so.
When Cappy
Happy
Fournier
took it over. Yep.
takes it over. And that's when things start to get really interesting.
Yeah.
Now, we have to point out, Cappy Fournier owned Johnstone's Inn for a long time. And also, we went to school with his daughter,
We did.
Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, at one point, she had a birthday party when we were still in like elementary school. I don't know. We were fairly young, but not so young that I was still terrified of the place.
Maybe just a little bit.
No, I was interested. Like at this
Okay.
point, I wasn't scared anymore. Like I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go and see ghosts and stuff.
Cool.
And I remember it was like a big deal because we got to go upstairs, which was normally at that time, I believe, off limits.
Yeah, it was like functions or
Yeah,
something.
to public. So like we got to go upstairs, and I remember thinking that I saw the water turn on by itself. Remember me and Jared Sakakini seeing that together. So I don't honestly at this point I don't remember if that's true, but I remember telling people that that's what we saw, and we'd like throw ourselves on the floor and be like, the ghost did it.
That's awesome.
That was the fun at the birthday party that year. And I recently, even before we started thinking about doing this podcast or anything, I asked Danielle on Facebook if she ever had any kind of experiences there. And she said, no, she hadn't, to be honest. But she also said, but I wouldn't spend the night there.
Mm.
So.
Would you spend the night there?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Why not? But anyway, Cappy is an interesting fellow from all the readings that we've done. Because I have to say, I don't mean to call him out on anything, but it seems like a lot of these stories are told by him.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these ghost stories.
He unearthed a lot of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it starts with him in the 70s and early 80s talking about, from what I read, the newspaper report said, strange happenings at Ashland Inn or whatever. And it was mostly just things like, oh, the doors would open by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We'd lock things up at night and we'd come in the next day and they'd be completely unlocked and wide open. Lights would turn on and off by themselves. Faucets would turn on and off by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing about the phantom tips.
Yeah.
Bartenders and piano players.
Yep.
Because they do have live music even to this day.
They do. And quiz night.
And quiz night at Stone's Public House. And yeah, so phantom $10 tips.
Yep.
Would show up. And there was a picture of John Stone hanging over the bar. I don't know if it's still there.
Yes, there is. I think
Still
it's over
there?
the fireplace or somewhere.
Right.
But
It's got a
definitely in
place of
there.
honor somewhere.
Yeah.
So the staff used to turn around and say thank you
Mm-hmm.
when the tip showed up. So for spirits that are supposed to have been involved in a murder, most of them seem pretty friendly.
Yeah, I haven't heard. Well,
We'll get
a
to
little
some
bit,
of the
but
yeah, we'll get to some of the more mischievous things. I guess that's what we'll call them.
And Cappy brought in a lot of the ghost hunters.
Right. So that's So in the early
He
80s,
kind of
mid
mixed
80s.
the pot on that one.
What's that?
He was kind of mixing the pot on that
Yeah.
one, bringing them in.
Yeah. In the early 80s or mid 80s, he brought in different paranormal investigators, I guess, psychics, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they all told wildly different stories, except for the fact that the second floor, the back half, they all pinpointed that as a place where a lot of spirit activity was taking place.
Mm.
And that is commonly where people claim to see spirits in the window,
Mm-hmm.
including your daughter. Is that where she?
I'm not sure where she saw it.
Okay.
We drove by it on the morning school run.
Okay.
And one day she was 6 at the time. One day we drove by and she said, "Mommy, there's a little girl up in the window."
Oh boy.
And I said, "Where?" And she pointed at Johnstone's, and I don't think she knows the story of the little girl.
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh boy, that's the last time we're driving by Johnstone's in the morning or ever."
All right. We're going to talk about the little girl in more detail in a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to continue. So one of the psychics, because the whole legend of the poker game,
Mm-hmm.
there is, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is zero historical evidence for any of it.
Yeah, there's no newspaper articles
Right.
on it.
Or anybody
From the
missing
past.
or anything like that. So no
No,
one came
nothing has
looking for
been-
this
Yeah, no one has found anything anyway.
New Yorker, who we discovered his name was supposed to be Michael somehow.
Yeah,
Michael the New Yorker.
Michael the New Yorker. Pew.
And so I wondered, like, how does that legend come about? Like, where did that come from? And apparently the answer is some psychic, I was about to say made it up, but maybe he didn't make it up. Maybe he got it
Well, he must
from
have
the spirits.
saw it from the spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But it was a juicy story, so that is the one that has lived on
Yeah.
in legend. So he was one of these psychics that Cappy brought in to investigate, and he said, hey, this is the story. This is why there's ghosts here.
And he said that, I think he said that the reason there was nothing in the newspaper about it is because they swore the pact to not tell anybody, and they buried the body in the basement.
Right. But there's conflicting reports in the books that I've read and what you can find online. Some people say it was John Stone plus 3 local townspeople. But then, where did we read that? I think on Stone's Public House site, it said that there was 6 to 7 people involved in the plot.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
It's a good story.
I don't know. Let's say 10. Make it 10. Make it a nice round 10.
Out. Yeah.
Because I know they're trying to go for, like, I've heard some of the books claim, like, oh, it's the most haunted inn in New England or in America. I think they're trying to get that title. So let's bump up the number for them.
Hey, yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Help them out.
There's at least 25 ghosts in Johnstone's.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to go there.
Okay.
When I'm a ghost. I'm not saying I'm going to live there, but I'll visit.
Hey, if they're serving up corned beef cabbage rolls, I'm in.
And then there is also the legend about if you go down to the basement, people have claimed that they feel someone grabbing their ankles as they walk down the stairs.
Yeah. Now that you've told me that, when I've worked there in the past, that still freaks me out.
But you didn't feel it. You just are freaked out by the story.
I was just freaked out by the creepy basement, and now that you've added to it, has just added to my... I'm never going back down there again if I ever am in there.
Yeah, because so we describe the basement. It's basically like just an unfinished, but not like more than unfinished. It's like stone slab.
Yeah, it's like stone walls, dirt floor type. I mean, this was when I worked there back in whenever we were in high school in the 90s.
Yeah, I don't think they've changed too much.
Big walk-in freezer that makes hellish noises and only like one light. They use it for storage with tables and chairs, but then there's all these little nooks and all the little areas and all these little dark corners. Oh God, no, thank you. So
a couple more things about the basement while we're down there. Is another one of the things that the spirits are supposed to do is that if you go into that freezer, they kind of hold you in there or kind of push you in.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thank God you didn't tell me that when I worked there.
Yeah, not in a playful way, not in a harmful way, from what I've read. So they're not really trying to harm you. They're just trying to like
play.
Yeah. And they the waitresses and bartenders will feel taps on the shoulder. There's been a couple of reports of hearing names called and stuff like that.
Bouncing balls down the stairs. I've heard that one too.
Yeah. And glasses flying off the shelf and either spinning in the air or just dropping on the floor if the spirit was upset.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing about the basement.
The Underground Railroad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there's supposed to be a tunnel from the front of Stone's out to the train station, which is like across the street.
Yeah. So that was it the train station back in the day too?
Yeah.
So the Underground Railroad turned into the legit railroad at that point?
I guess.
All right. But yeah, it was supposed to be a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Yeah.
And they have, speaking of the body buried in the basement, they have, from what I've read, dug up spots in the basement. I don't think they've necessarily done a full excavation or anything, but they've dug up spots, and surprise, surprise, found no bones.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Keep up
Still
the
holding
faith.
out hope?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You want to see? I'm rooting for him not to be a murderer.
Oh, I see. I don't even think he was there.
Okay.
No, I don't think he was there.
All right. I mean, his picture is creepy.
Yeah, he's wicked creepy, but all people back then were creepy in those pictures.
Yeah. It could be one of those mortuary photos for all I know. I don't know how old he lived to, but you know those?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, I don't think so.
That's another episode of Spooky Ass Shit.
I want to be on that one. That's a fun one. Yeah, that'd be cool. I stayed in a mortuary once.
All right, let's talk about... Wait, hold on, pause. Why did you stay in a mortuary?
It was a makeshift.
You were dating this guy.
It was a makeshift morgue. Actually, it was my family, and we were on vacation, and we stayed in a makeshift morgue.
As you do.
In Windsor, that would pick up the bodies of people who used to jump into the Thames in London, and they would come down the river into Windsor, and they would pick up the bodies, and they would bring it to this pub, which turned into a makeshift morgue. And we stayed there overnight, a couple of nights. It was great.
Like this happened while you were there, or that happened like in the past?
No, that was like in the past.
Okay.
No, not while I was there. I was not sleeping next to a body or anything.
Well, you are kind of a weird chick. I wouldn't put it past you. All right, let's talk about the little girl. I think this is probably aside from maybe John Stone himself, this is the famous spirit.
Yeah, she's pretty big.
Yeah. So what can we say about the little girl?
Well, the cool
because
thing,
I thought
that
this was something that was made up. I didn't think there was any historical evidence about a little girl because the legend is there's a little girl that haunts the second floor, second and maybe third floor.
Yeah, she plays on the stairs.
Right. And that she was hit by a train. And now she haunts the inn because she was hit right outside the inn. Yeah.
And they brought her in to the inn.
Okay.
To provide her with medical attention after she was hit by the train.
All right. Fair enough. I didn't even hear that part, but all right.
That's like the end of the story.
Okay. See, I was missing the end.
Yeah.
TiVo cut it off right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is that it's legit.
Which I just learned tonight.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Historian filled me in.
Yeah.
So tell us about it.
Her name was Mary, and she was 10 years old. She was almost 11. This happened June 11th, 1863, and she was hit by the train, and there's actually newspaper articles about it. And her parents were from Ireland. I think they came from Boston. But I don't think that there's any record of where she's buried. I read somewhere that they thought she was buried somewhere in a Milford cemetery, but I don't think anyone's been able to find her stone or anything. And she has a very common name. Like I think her name was Mary Smith or something like that. Very common, so it's kind of difficult to find. But yeah, that story is legit.
All right. So now if we see this little girl ghost, we can say, "Hey,
well,
Mary."
Talk to my daughter and be like, "Yo, where is she?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. And so there's another legend that grows out of that legend. That in the 90s, I don't know if she was a waitress or a bartender, but let's say she was a waitress. One of the waitresses was at the inn with her boyfriend. And for whatever reason, they went rooting around the attic.
Yeah.
Either because they had heard that there was a dress up there or some other reason.
I heard something about a brick with that story too.
I'm sorry?
Something about a brick. I feel like they went up to the attic to go get a brick for something, for the fireplace or something like that. I don't know why, but for some reason I'm just thinking that they went up there for like legit something.
All right. So they went up to the attic and they found a trunk. And in the trunk was a little girl's dress.
Ooh.
With blood on it.
Ooh.
Now, again, this is where the story gets weird. Because instead of just going down and saying, "Hey, we just found this fucked up thing in the attic," they said, "Hey, let's take this home."
Yeah.
Why do you want a bloody little girl's dress? Like I'm a fan of ghost stories and the paranormal and all that. Like obviously I got a whole podcast about it. And even if I went up there and thought like this must be the little girl who was hit by the train and this is a local legend and it's really cool.
Yeah.
My thought would not be I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep this.
I don't think they kept it. Did they keep it?
They brought it home.
Oh, I thought they just brought it downstairs.
No, the stories that I've read.
Oh.
They brought it home.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it home. I probably would have just been like, "Yo, you better go check your attic."
Yeah.
You got some scary ass shit up there.
Yeah, no, I've always heard that they brought it home. Either that first she kept it and spooky shit kept happening. It doesn't describe what happened. It just says,
"Oh, stuff went crazy."
That's right.
Yeah.
That like all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
And then she said, "I can't take this anymore," and gave it to her boyfriend.
Oh.
But then the same thing happened at his place. So she had to fess up and bring it back and say, like, "We can't take this anymore. We're going to return it. We're putting it back in the attic."
Sorry.
Where allegedly it still is to this day.
Yeah, but
I guess.
Now we're wondering if they framed it and it's hanging upstairs somewhere.
Now, did you hear that, or is that?
That was in an article that I was reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that our mission now
we need to go to John Stone's.
Yes. And if this
or,
dress
excuse me,
exists,
Stone's Public House.
Yeah, Stone's Public House.
We might need a drinky poo, and we need to go find that dress.
Yeah.
We ain't taking it though.
What time is it right now?
We're not taking it.
No, we're not taking it. We will ask permission
of
Mary
to look
to take a picture.
Oh yes.
Because if this exists and this is a big local legend, and it is, why isn't there any pictures of it? Right?
Mm.
And don't tell me people are sensitive.
No.
About it, because that has not been the case as far as John Stones go.
And from the 1850s, like the bloodstain and stuff, it's not like horror film that we are thinking of. Right. It wouldn't look like that.
No. So if it exists, I want pictures.
Okay, you want proof.
Yeah. This will not be a false flag event. We are
okay.
taking pictures, and we are sharing them if it's legit.
Yeah.
I have my doubts as to if that whole story is true.
Oh.
So we'll see. I'm calling you on it.
Oh, you are?
Not you, but whoever.
I will have to go hunt
I'm
the
calling
article
this
next time
unnamed,
I'm down the society.
This unnamed waitress.
Oh, that part of the story.
Yeah. Wait, what'd you think?
Oh, the she was hit by the train story.
Oh, no. That's if you say legit. It happened,
that's legit.
I'm good.
Okay.
I honestly did not know about that until tonight. I knew the legend, but I didn't know that it was supposed to be real. Okay, so then, for the most part, the things that these spirits do are pretty harmless, and they seem to just kind of be, again, for a group of co-conspirators in a murder.
I know, they're pretty laid back.
Yeah, pretty fun-loving, just kind of teasing with people.
Yeah.
But
I think one of the seances though that Cappy had.
Yeah.
I think the medium or whoever it was had said that at one point the conspirators were all in the room with them. And John Stone came in and he was mad and he was you guys need to leave.
Yes, I have heard that too.
Yeah.
That, you need to get off my property.
But he didn't poltergeist them.
Right. Speaking of poltergeists, that is one of the videos from the History Channel that John Stones is featured on.
Really?
The History Channel has a haunted history collection, and it's like a DVD set. And there's one about poltergeist.
And he's in the poltergeist one?
He's in the poltergeist one. You can find it on YouTube, too.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called on YouTube, but it's in there. So the only real, scary thing that I've heard the ghost doing is there was a woman who was dining in the restaurant. There's two sides at Stone's Public House. There's the bar, and then there's the restaurant. And there was a woman who was dining, and she suddenly felt hands around her neck choking her. Yet, as she was being choked, she was able to gasp out, "Get my check!"
I would have been you need to pay for my check.
That's a story that also is reported by Cappy Fournier. We got to get him on.
Yeah, you do.
I think.
That'd be a good one.
Seems like he's got some stories to tell.
That's your Halloween episode on location.
Yeah. He's on the video, by the way. He's on that video that I was talking about.
The History Channel one?
Yep.
Cool.
So you can see him and hear an interview with him. But I got some questions for that guy. We'll talk to Danielle. We'll make it happen.
He's got some good stories, though. That's good.
Yeah. Let's see.
I think we covered all the topics, really. There's allegedly supposed to be an underground tunnel between John Stone's and the general store under the train tracks, so they say.
All right.
I never poked around enough to find out.
The general store isn't the general store anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lunkers. But I used to work at the general store also. I think I've worked in almost every place in Ashland, but yes.
Yeah, there was a general store, a pretty cool general store. They had a bakery in there.
Right next door.
Yeah, they had a bakery in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for a little while, there was the comic book store.
Yeah.
Which was owned by, Sean Van Daka and...
Oh, really? I had no idea that was them.
Liam Renane's older brother. I think it's Sean. I think it was Sean and Sean. Sean Renane. But they were friends with my oldest brother, who did not torment me.
That was nice of him.
In that way. He was too old.
Yeah.
He was 12 years older.
He got it out with your older brother, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're 12, you're not going to, whatever. If you're, how old, if I was 5, then he was what?
Oh, God. I don't do math. I do history.
17. So a 17-year-old isn't going to mess with a 5-year-old.
This is true.
But, so let's see. I think that really kind of covers
That's
the
most
legend
of the
of
main stories.
Johnstone's Inn.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any more history to add to it? The ghosts just aren't that spooky. Like, what they do isn't that spooky.
And the place really isn't spooky.
No, it's nice.
I don't think. It's really nice in there. I mean, just don't go in the basement.
Right. And I remember when we were talking about it at one point, they were having the waitresses... Well, we were saying, like, this is going back like 15 years ago when you and I were having a conversation about this.
Yeah.
That we didn't feel they were making a big enough deal about the ghosts.
That's right. Yeah, when I used to work there, we were like,
Cappy
where's all the ghosts?
Yeah, Cappy would have been a man after her own heart. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, first of all, I think he made up some of those stories.
Hey, whatever.
To drive up some business. I don't hold anything against him on that. That's cool. Mm-hmm. But then the people that took over afterwards, I don't know if it was just, is it Marty?
Yeah, they kind of had like a little weird interim.
Yeah, there was some, but the waitresses were wearing these like peasant shirts with like puffy pirate sleeves.
Yeah.
And these really weird like paisley print like Chardonnay colored skirts.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know where that outfit came from.
No.
But now they're in basic black.
Black, yeah.
Yeah, that's a much better look.
Yeah.
So it's a nice place.
Yeah.
And even when they were wearing the weird clothes, it was still a good place.
Yeah,
the food was still good.
It's always been kind of cool to
at a
go
reasonable
to.
Price.
Yeah. Plus, it's a nice
good drinks,
atmosphere.
Good atmosphere. Live music.
Yeah.
Quiz bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Good times.
Cabbage
good times
rolls.
to be had. What's that?
Cabbage rolls.
Cabbage rolls. Good times to be had at Stone's Public House.
That's right.
Support your local businesses.
Yes, and local ghosts.
That's right. And if you're in town and you need a tour.
Oh, thank you.
You call the Ashland Historical Society.
We'll hook you up.
And you asked for Jennie Blades. Even though that's not her last name anymore. They'll know who you're talking about. They'll be like, oh yeah. Yeah, we know her. Mm-hmm. And if you have any spooky comments or questions about this topic or any other topic on spooky ass shit, the email for the show is spookyassshit@gmail.com. That's all one word. And I guess that's it for now. I really think maybe we'll do another episode where we'll try to get some guests in here.
Yeah.
Cappy and maybe some people that worked there. Yeah. Maybe someone that works there now, and see if we can get some more stories. And
yeah, maybe someone will email you some stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll email you that audio clip of the ghost speaking on the audio clip.
So you can find videos. That's one thing we didn't talk about. Mm-hmm. You can find videos online, but I think the one that you're talking about, is it a YouTube video that you're talking about, or?
No, it was actually sent to me from someone from the Historical Society.
Okay. Because there is a clip online that says it has a electronic voice phenomena recording of the ghost calling somebody's name. Mm. But you play the clip and it's one of those night vision ones.
Oh.
Like the green.
Yeah, no.
As soon as I see that, whether it's on TV or anywhere, I'm like, nope.
I love that.
Turning it off. And no, not because I think it's scary, because it's just bullshit. Like, I'm just like, I know what's going to happen. They're going to be walking around acting a little bit scared. Like, okay, I'm in the attic. I'm looking around. What was that? What was that? I think I just heard. That's definitely proof. They can't deny it anymore. That's proof of the paranormal. We just found it.
I would love to be on one of those, though. I'd be the person screaming.
No. So I dated someone who was on America's, Scariest Places on Earth.
No way.
Yeah. And she showed me the clip. And they went to like an abandoned mental hospital.
Oh my gosh.
In Massachusetts. I forget which one.
Danvers.
I don't think it was Danvers.
Oh.
But it was pretty funny because what happened is they went down to the morgue.
Ah.
And there's no lights or anything. It's just the lights from the camera crew or whatever.
And the green lights.
Yeah. I don't think there was green lights back in those days. This was a while ago. And there was a homeless man down there.
Oh my gosh.
Like sleeping on one of the morgue beds, and he like sat up. And they freaked the fuck out.
Oh, well, yeah.
Why would, I mean, anybody would, I would imagine.
That makes for good TV right there.
They ran, and she knocked over the cameraman on her way out. And you can hear her apologize as she's running past him. I'm sorry. She just runs. So.
Feed him to the ghost.
Yeah, that's how, but no, I can't stand those shows. I can't stand those shows. And it bugs me because I love ghosts. I love ghost stories, and I love talking about ghosts so much. Mm-hmm. But all the shows now have that. And Bigfoot's the same way. Bigfoot's doing that now. Mm-hmm. with these night vision cameras that they hook on. It's like they're all the same goddamn show. Just pisses me off. Where's the good paranormal shit?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else that bugs me while I'm on a rant.
Sure, go ahead.
When I was a kid and
Yeah.
I used to go to the bookstore and look for this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
the section was called occult.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Occult.
Yeah.
Now it's new age.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or sometimes there'll be like folklore or legends or something.
Okay, yeah.
But for the most part, it would be like under new age.
Well, they should label it spooky ass shit.
They should. Spooky ass shit. All right. My good friend Jennie Blades.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
It's been a pleasure.
It has. It's been
All
fun.
right. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Oh, again, I'm trying to think of a way to end the show. I haven't come up with anything better, so I'm just going to say, don't be afraid.
I like that.
Go to Stone's Public House. Have a drink. Have some
Corned beef cabbage rolls.
corned beef cabbage rolls. All right. Take it easy.